all of these projects have got sub-projects within them.
Well, this is the thing. Like, basically, when people talk about MK Ultra, they basically mean mind control. They could actually mean Artichoke, Bluebird, Chatter, MK Delta. They've got various different names. It's just basically simpler if we term them under MK Ultra. Claudia Mullin, who's a very famous sort of victim of these mind control experiments, basically, she spoke to a US Presidential Advisory Board in 1995, and she was taken by Sidney Gottlieb. She was an already abused child. She was taken when she was 7, and she was subjected to electroshock, LSD, various other chemicals and stuff like that. When she was 9, she was taken to Maryland under the supervision of the American government to be trained as a prostitute. Okay,
right.
This is a 9-year-old girl.
9?
Yes, 9. You know.
I mean, so was this Project Monarch?
No, this was actually a sub-project of MK Ultra called Artichoke, and we know this to be fact because basically she spoke about this in open court. And what?
So was this in the mid-90s, where there was a number of women who tried to sue the government for being used in mind control projects?
Yeah, Linda MacDonald, Claudia Mullin, several others, and you can find this all on the internet. This, you know.
So what would somebody need to type into Google in order to find these? Because there were open hearings where there were cameras, wasn't there?
Linda MacDonald, Claudia Mullin. There you go. Start off with those.
Google those names, and you will be able to find them giving testimony in a court, trying to basically bring the American government to account over secret mind control projects.
Well, what Claudia Mullin said was that basically she was used as sort of an entrapment. Basically, she'd be used as a 9-year-old prostitute, and she'd be used to lure and blackmail politicians, heads of academia, you know, popular celebrities and people like that, you know, just to get them into a position where we've filmed you with this 9-year-old girl.
Right, so at some point in the politicians, you know, maybe on business or whatever, this 9-year-old will be offered to them, who would then, you know, do whatever, and then would be filmed.
Yes, secretly filmed.
And then it's a way of then controlling that politician.
Yeah, basically they're now in your pocket. And basically she was very, very accurate with a lot of her things. She spoke about Sidney Gottlieb. She accurately described him. She spoke about, well, she didn't speak about Ewan Cameron. Ewan Cameron was the mind control doctor that was interested in sort of sleep deprivation. So depatterning was what he called it, basically wiping a mind so that you can implant a new. And he was sued, well, the board of governors was sued by Linda MacDonald, and she actually got a sizable amount of money because it was proved that they did do these experiments. What happened was basically Claudia kept speaking about, to her therapist and a lawyer, about this person called the cameraman, who would, a Scottish person that would speak, that would call her lassie all the time. And years later, it was Valerie Wolfe, who was her solicitor. She was basically watching some stock footage of CIA doctors, and somebody exactly as Claudia Mullin described, with a Scottish accent, who kept calling people lassie, came on the screen, and this turned out to be Ewan Cameron, who's the sort of famous MK Ultra doctor. So again, it adds credence to her story.
Right. So this is one reason why you know, a cabal might want to control somebody is to get to let them have sex with an underage person who's under mind control, and they then get control of that politician.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any cases known where, let's say, that's happened to a leader, but that leader has then said, right, well, you're not going to control me, I'm going to do what I want anyway, and then they have to then bring out that evidence in a court? Do you see what I mean? In order to sort of carry out the threat.
Yeah, they've got to sort of expose them. It probably has, but not to my... The one that I know about, it's not exactly what you're saying about, is Paul Benassi. And this was to do with the Franklin conspiracy, which was the Franklin Savings and Loans. It was a saving credit union in Omaha, Nebraska. And basically, Larry King, who was the rising star...
Larry King, he's the... Well, probably the most prominent chat show host.
No, not the chat show host Larry King. Right. Lawrence King, Larry King, he was a Republican senator.
All right, so different Larry King.
Yeah, different Larry King. And what happened was he was basically running, or it was alleged that he was running a child sex ring through a charity called Boys Town. Now, what happened was basically he was found to have defrauded or helped to defraud $40 million from the Savings and Loan Unit. And in Franklin. Now, Senator John DeCamp investigated with this, and basically what happened was Paul Bonacci was one of the kids that came forward. There was over 80 children that came forward and basically said, this is what's happened. We've been taken from this charity and we're being used as sex slaves. But it was worse than that, because Paul Bonacci was basically saying that he was employed, so to speak, as a mind-controlled operative to find children on order for paedophiles and to assist in kidnapping them. Basically what he would do, he would be going to a playground with a pocket full of sweets or whatever, go around the corner dragging these kids around there, and which time there'd be a black van or whatever, and 2 CIA operatives would bag over the kid and steal them. And you know, one of the cases that this sounds outrageous, but basically it was taken to a court case, and Paul Bonacci was actually awarded £1 million in damages, saying that the judge, who was Judge Urbaum, wrote that King continually subjected the plaintiff Paul Bonacci to repeated sexual assaults, false imprisonments, organised and directed satanic rituals, and he was forced to scavenge for children to be part of the defendant King's sexual abuse and pornography ring. Okay, he was forced to go into masochistic orgies with other children. Okay, he has multiple personality disorder and has 14 distinct personalities. Okay, now what's important to notice is that Lawrence King was not found guilty of any of these sexual crimes. He was found guilty of the defrauding. But basically what that does is it vindicates. Paul Bonacci was essentially put in jail for perjury, and there was another girl called Alicia Owens who was actually allegedly made pregnant by the local sheriff during this sort of incident.
Right. So you think, I mean, what they use small boys if the person happens to be homosexual? Is that what you like a rent boy type scenario?
Well, yeah, I would assume so. I mean, the case of Johnny Gosch, which is, again, I'd suggest people Google Johnny Gosch, is Gosch, and he was a paper boy. I'm not sure, he may have been from Nebraska, I might have got that wrong. Basically, he went missing, and Paul Bonacci came out in court and said he was the person that helped kidnap Johnny Gosch. Johnny Gosch apparently turned up many years later, spoke to his mother, and he's not revealed his sort of whereabouts for his own safety, but his mother went into court and in open court stated that her son was kidnapped by the US government for use in mind control and sexual entrapment sort of cases and things like that. And again, this was in court, and during this, Paul Bonacci mentioned Michael Aquino, who we spoke about on the previous thing. Basically, Michael Aquino, who was termed the Colonel, was involved allegedly in buying Johnny Gosch. They were basically, this is an organised thing where they would sort of have a catalogue of kids, they would kidnap the kids to order, and then they would use them either for sex, pornography, snuff films, or other things. I mean, Paul Bonacci made.
So what is a snuff film? Explain what that is.
The snuff film is basically a pornographic film, or it's a film in which the participant does not know that they're going to be killed and is killed on camera. It's like an on-camera murder. And people will tell you that it's a myth that these things don't exist. They do exist. They were found in the Belgian Parliament. Okay,
So, I mean, in a snuff film, who are they killing in these? Just unknown people, or
yeah, unknown people, or that's the thing. Somebody will come on and it's someone being tortured to death in the video. Now, Paul Bonacci.
So just to stop you there, Neil, what would be the point of making a snuff film?
For pleasure, for the perverse pleasure of who's watching it. It's either, I don't know, to get some sexual thrill out of it, or it's just the concept of this is a forbidden thing. This is really taboo and dark. That's I couldn't possibly say why people.
Well, are you saying that? I mean, we're saying that that a cabal is controlling or programming these children to be prostitutes, okay,
yes,
for a particular purpose, which we've just discussed.
Yeah.
But the snuff film, are you saying that a cabal which exists above government is also making snuff films
for distribution, for sale, and just for fun? Essentially, right. And what Paul Bonacci said was basically that he was at Bohemian Grove and watched snuff films being made. Now, he alleges, and this is in the Franklin Conspiracy documentary, that Hunter S. Thompson, a famous journalist, was actually filming it. And I mean, I don't know about that, but shortly after this revelation, Hunter S. Thompson killed himself. So, who knows? Who knows? Paul Bonacci also mentions, and what I suggest is you find the Gunderson Chronicles, which is an excellent. He's been interviewed by Ted Gunderson. He mentions George H.W. Bush. He says he talks about numerous drug